Thompson. It's such a privilege to talk to you today. You've been in aromatherapy for decades, and it's it's just it's exciting thing. I know it sounds funny, doesn't it?
I know, I
I know
know.
to hear that, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. And so you have a rich history in aromatherapy. So that's what that really means. And you've been very successful, and we're excited to learn from you today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Renee Hughes. I'm the founder of the Aroma Specialist. And what we do is we help aromatherapists and holistic practitioners to stabilize and advance their businesses using captivating speaking. And on this show, we focus on individuals who are successful aromatherapists and holistic practitioners. And we talk to them about their journey. It's such a motivating thing to hear from folks who have done it and have been there and have had the ups and downs. We're just going to kind of talk about all of it. So Colleen is the founder, right,
Yes.
of Essence of Thyme College of Holistic Studies. Can you tell us about, is that your school? Is that a school?
That is my school, yes. So Essence of Thyme Limited has been around since 1996, but Essence of Thyme College of Holistic Studies started in 2012, and that's when my certification program rolled out. So I did a lot of aromatherapy related things prior to 2012, but in 2012 we rolled out the certification program. So yeah.
That's incredible. Tell us about the program. What makes your school exciting and different, and what do you love about it?
Well, first of all, I named it Essence of Thyme College of Holistic Studies because my plan was to bring in other modalities, because I'm also a reflexologist and Reiki, and do a lot of other things as well, which a lot of people do. Once they become an aromatherapist, they start doing other modalities,
branch out,
or vice versa, quite often,
True.
because they connect so nicely together. But my school started out actually as a correspondence program, and students would get these two thick, huge manuals. It was 400 hours at that time. And then in 2019, we went completely online, and it's completely different now. So I love the online format. I am a bit older, so for me, I was quite happy just to go with correspondence, not realizing what an advantage having an online program was. So we used to, even with the correspondence program, believe it or not, with those huge manuals, we were an international school. So we would ship those manuals to whatever country the student was from. But now they can just push a button, which is so much easier.
Isn't it great?
It's awesome. The technology is a blessing and a curse. But
it is exactly that.
Yes. So what's different about our program, that we have two certification programs, and the first one is the professional level, and it is a 370-hour program. So it takes a real deep dive into aromatherapy. My business partner is Kelly Ablard, and Kelly is very involved in sustainability. So we have a very rich content that relates to sustainability as well throughout the program. But we also, we start in module 1, lesson 1, you start learning about botany. So what, rather than aromatherapy, where do these wonderful plant products come from? And so you need to understand botany to be able to do that. So we start with
I have to stop you there, because I love that you're doing that. I just did an IG the other day talking about, I am the aromatherapist with the black thumb. I kill all my little plants. You have to see my plants just all. So I love that you're doing that. You're going back to the origins
right to the seed.
That is different. I really love it.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think you have a real appreciation when you understand where the plants come from, but also where the essentials come from. And also when you're talking about botany, you're talking about climate and soil conditions and all of that sort of thing. And that all comes into play when we get the final product, which is the essential oil or the other aromatic extract. The chemistry will all depend upon, where it was grown, how it was grown, altitude, all those kind of things. So by knowing the botany, I think it's a little bit more understandable. And so that's where we start. And then, we go through, all of the anatomy and physiology and pathologies and chemistry and, of course, case studies. Each student has their own case study mentor. So that mentor, they do their case studies toward the end of the program once they have most of the information they need to be able to do a good quality case study. And then they're paired up with a mentor who just, takes them through the whole process, is there to ask any questions. They can send in a trial case study and have the person give them feedback on it. So they're mentored through the whole process. So I think that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I know, probably other schools do that as well, but I don't think all.
But I think
schools
it's
do
great.
that.
It's just that personal touch. You can't really, okay, I'm not sure if I lost you. Yeah, a little sticky there.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no replacement for that personal touch. So I love that you do that. But let's take you back a little bit. I want to take you back just a little bit. Of course, in a little bit, we're going to talk about associations. I love that that's something that you talk about, because I want to talk about that. But I want to take you back to 1995, maybe.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Before you started Essence of Thyme. What propelled you forward to do that? And what was your biggest challenge?
Oh, well, that's a huge question, actually. So I worked in banking, and I'm going to show my age here. I started in banking in 1969, and I loved my job in banking, and I worked my way up to management. And throughout my banking career, I was very fortunate to work for a company that paid for my education. So I was able to go to university while I was working as well. So there was lots of pluses to doing that. But in the early 90s, what happened with banking, I think in general, is it became very, very competitive. A lot of the, for instance, I'm in Canada. In Canada, they opened it up for foreign banks to be able to come and operate in Canada, which created a huge competitive market, which was good for the consumer, and maybe not so good for banks who just sort of were resting on their laurels and not really doing too much. So it became all about sales. And that wasn't really, I was the training manager at that time. So I had to train people on how to almost hard sell, and it just didn't sit well with me. So I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And then at the same time in 1994, 1995, I lost two very, very close family members at a fairly young age. And it just made me realize that life is too short. On Monday, I'm wishing it's Friday. And on Sunday, I'm starting to work myself up because I have to go to work the next day. So I'm
no way to live. You're speaking to, I know you're speaking to so many people right now that, and I want everybody to take a listen to that, because you may be in that space that you're like, I know this is not what I want to be doing. You're having that feeling of dread on Sunday. It starts to come over you, and you're like, no, life is too short for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Short. So I already kind of had one foot out the door, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But prior to that, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was taking some courses at the University of British Columbia. And there was a professor there that started talking about rosemary essential oil. And I had no idea what an essential oil was. I didn't know what aromatherapy was. But he started talking about rosemary essential oil. So that kind of started my quest to learn a little bit more about what is rosemary and what is aromatherapy. So I was already have my toe dipped in the pond of learning about aromatherapy, which was tough in those days because we didn't have internet then, really. And so I'm trying to find books, and there wasn't really a whole lot out there. But little by little, I started to learn about aromatherapy, and everything kind of came together. I was sort of at the end of my rope with my banking career. Although I loved the people I worked with, I just wasn't happy about what I was doing. And an opportunity arose to open an aromatherapy store. And so I jumped at it. And I actually thought I knew quite a bit about aromatherapy at that time. I knew nothing. So you talk about a challenge. I thought because I had been using them for a few years, I thought, I know what
I got this.
And fortunately, I had somebody, I had a team that were hired, and one of them was an aromatherapist. And that was the thing that saved me, because she could answer questions I couldn't, and I started to learn from her. But I also realized very quickly that I needed to become a certified aromatherapist. So when you
Yes.
see my timeline, you'll see I opened my store, but I didn't become an aromatherapist until here because I literally put the cart before the horse. So that was my biggest challenge.
I love that though, because
Yeah.
you're an action taker. That's why you
Well,
are where you are.
exactly, exactly. And yeah,
The other thing I want to say to that is, did you all hear what she did? So her challenge was, thinking she knew, jumped in. I love that she jumped in. Please take note of that. Look at where she is now and the fact that she jumped in. But the other thing is that you hired a team and you got where you were not proficient, you hired someone.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then you move forward to get your own education because that was important. But
yeah, yeah.
you didn't let that stop you. You didn't let
I
the challenge
didn't,
stop you.
but
Yeah.
in hindsight, I'm just
You would have done it
horrified by the way.
first.
Exactly, yeah. But I didn't know what I
Yeah.
didn't know, and I think that's real
Exactly.
for a lot of us, But I'm
Exactly.
glad I didn't because I may not
Mhm.
have made that leap if
Yeah.
I worried about how much there was to learn. And really,
True.
aromatherapy education, I don't know about other countries, but in Canada, day one, we started learning about aromatherapy massage. It was all about aromatherapy
Mhm.
massage. There was no chemistry in the program. There was no
Wow.
botany in the program. There was a lot of anatomy and physiology and pathologies,
Mhm.
but, and then of course the essential oils. So, and that's just the way it was. So,
Yeah.
I have been a lifelong learner and there's still things that I don't know about aromatherapy. And I would venture to say that nobody knows it all because
That's
it's ever
right.
changing, right?
It's
So,
ever changing. And I'm glad you said that too. It's ever
yeah.
changing. And I wanted to say this too, because I mean, we could probably have a whole episode about the importance of certification. I certainly think it's such an important thing to be
Yeah,
certified and to be educated and even to continue your education. I'm glad that we have the requirements
right.
of continuing education. But there can also be a rabbit hole because you can literally spend the rest of your days learning because it
Yeah,
is ever changing. There's so much to know.
yeah,
And I think that's a
yeah,
beautiful thing. My encouragement always to my fellow aromatherapists is don't let that stop your progress.
yeah,
You don't have to know it all before you move forward. So that's a
exactly.
huge thing. But the education piece is really, really good. So thank you for sharing that. I want to jump to you've got there's so much we could talk about, and I feel like we need you for a second episode because you've got such a beautiful history. I want to jump to these days. What's your biggest challenge these days in current aromatherapy land?
Um, I think just getting, there's a lot of competition.
Mhm.
There's a number of schools out there.
Yeah.
There's a number of wonderful schools out there.
Mhm.
There's some not so good schools out there as well. And I think, just sort of getting the message that, what makes our school different.
Yes.
Why should somebody choose our school over another school? I find
Mhm.
that we'll get a lot of emails where people will want more information. I
Mhm.
find hopping on a Zoom call with them is the best way to do it because
I
we
agree.
can really, and even if they don't end up going with us, at least we've got that connection. They know they can come back and ask
Yes.
us questions because
Mhm.
we say, even if you don't register with us, you can ask us a question.
Mhm.
So it is difficult. And I would say that's our main challenge right now. One of the
Mhm.
things that we do is we're really, really big on support.
Yeah.
And I love that part of the program. So,
Mhm.
I love the writing and all of that, but I love the connection with the students. So
Yes.
um, that I don't see as a challenge. I see that as a real gift.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think your students and your future students are going to really appreciate that too, because while there is a lot of competition, there are a lot of schools. I have a school too, but the thing is, your approach. I feel like everybody has something special to what
yeah,
they do, and
yeah,
it's just about letting people know the fact that you guys. I love that Colleen is talking about botany. She's got that whole section in botany, and you know that you're going to be taken care of. You're not going to be just a number and another student in
right.
her
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing to take a look at if you're not an aromatherapist yet and you're thinking of going in there. Now, let me ask you this. Do you also have people coming to your school who are already certified aromatherapists? Do
We
they have?
do.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, so we have the other certification program we have is called the Master Program,
Hmm.
and it's very unique. So
Hmm.
um, in the professional program, all of the anatomy and physiology is covered and pathologies. In the master's program, we dig deeper into all of that, but we do it in a very unique way. And this is by research. So because research really is the way to go these days with aromatherapy. If you don't know how to read research and understand it and actually determine whether it's a credible research paper or not, you're going to be left behind. And you'll see that with the conferences that are being held. All of the speakers are citing research references, that sort of thing. So for instance, the immune system would be taught by way of research papers. So the students would read the research papers and learn about the advanced pathologies in the research papers, but also they would be actually grading the paper. We give them a huge document that, they tick all of the dots, was this included, was this included, was this included. And, on the face of it, it might look like a really good research paper, but when you add up all of the check marks, it really wasn't. And so they're learning how to do research at the same time they're learning the pathologies and the anatomy. And the other thing we do is we really recommend for somebody to be successful that they specialize in aromatherapy, because it's pretty tough these days to be a general aromatherapist. So we offer electives. So they have a choice of electives. And right now we have animal aromatherapy. So it's a completely, a course on animal aromatherapy. There's one on palliative care and aromatherapy, and there's one on teacher training in aromatherapy. And there's a couple more that will be added in the next year or so, but these are not taught by us. The teacher training is taught by Kelly and by me, but animal aromatherapy is taught by an amazing animal aromatherapist.
Specialist.
And the palliative care is taught by several people who work in palliative care with aromatherapy, but in different aspects. Like one person works strictly with bereavement, one person works strictly with cancer. And so they're learning from the experts, which we realize that we're not the expert in everything. So we bring those people in. So I think, that hopefully that creates a higher success rate for aromatherapists graduating. Sometimes they don't know right away what they want to do with the aromatherapy. They just know they're interested in it. But this sort of helps to, allow them to
guide them.
It's
so important. I'm jumping up and down now, right? Because this is something that I talk about constantly. And those of you who attend my master classes, I kind of like beat this into your heads all the time. Specialize. You have to specialize. General practice does not work in holistic practice. Nobody even knows what you're saying. You have to specialize. And the fact that you all are prepping your students to do that ahead of time, you are ahead of the game, I can tell you. Because so many people that I talk to this is a big obstacle for them, is to be able to settle down and say, this is where I want to specialize. Because I would say probably a good 70% of people that come through my doors are saying they're still in that space of, I want to help everybody, I just want to help everybody feel better. And it's a beautiful feeling, but it's not practical, nor does it lead to success.
But I just want to go back, because I realized I didn't really answer your question. So people will apply to take the master program if they took their level 2, let's call it, from another school. So they have to apply, because we want to make sure that they have all of the anatomy and physiology at the level that we taught in our professional program before they go in the master's program. So we have an interview with them. And so far, everybody has passed the interview, so
that's good.
By all means, people can join in to the master's program.
I love that. That sounds like an incredible program. I'm excited for you. Well, last question. We're going to talk just a little bit about associations. Can you tell us your take on, I'm big on associations. I think they're incredibly important. And I'd just love to hear your take on the importance of associations.
Well, networking is so important. And that's a great way to network, because, you say you're in a rural area where you live, and that's not uncommon. So people are in this space by themselves, and maybe they can network, in a student forum, or, as a graduate, they can network, somehow online. But a great way to network is through the professional aromatherapy associations. And the other thing with the professional aromatherapy associations is they have titles that they own. And so you can qualify if you've taken a particular course to use that title. So if we use the Alliance of International Aromatherapists as an example, a person can qualify if they've taken the highest level course and the school has been recognized by the AIA as meeting the criteria, then that student or that grad can qualify as an advanced practice clinical aromatherapist. And there's an association in Canada, the Canadian Alliance of Aromatherapists, that ironically has the title registered aromatherapist. And I know that it gets confused with ARC because ARC has that as well. The one in Canada has actually been around longer, and it's trademarked with the federal government in Canada. So it can only be used in Canada. But if somebody wants to be able to put RA or registered aromatherapist after their name, they would have to join that association in Canada to be able to use it in Canada. So,
really, okay.
So, I think there's so much that the associations can offer. They offer continuing education, they offer networking opportunities, they offer credibility. And the other thing is that when you join a professional association, often you can get a reduction in your liability insurance because they'll have an alliance with a liability or an insurer, which is wonderful as well. But we really encourage our students to network. And so what we do actually is after they write their first midterm, which is in the professional program, and it happens to be open book. It's the only one that's open book, but it's because people don't know what an exam's going to look like. And so this way they know how the exam's structured. If they get 80% or higher, we give them $30 Canadian towards whatever association they want to join. And so that could be the AIA or NAHA or the Canadian Association. And we've also just put ICANN on there as well, because it's not technically an aromatherapy association, but it's an awesome platform for networking with other people, sharing ideas. And
it really is. I've got to I'm a member of ICANN too, but I don't use it. I'm so glad you mentioned that one. Need to get in there.
Rhiannon has tea time once a month, and I just have started doing that because I know you're like me. I work 12-hour days, I work 7 days a week, and I trying to carve out that time. I now put it on my calendar because it's just such a breath of fresh air to hear other people, and it's from every corner of the world as well.
And just to be together a little bit, like you said,
that's all it is.
Kind
of
just out here by myself. Yeah.
And it just for me, whenever I'm in a networking situation, I come away from it feeling motivated again. And I need that sometimes,
that feeling, that camaraderie.
Exactly. So I recommend that everybody join at least one professional aromatherapy association. And it kind of makes sense to join the one that is in your neck of the woods, for instance, people in Europe would more likely join IFPA. But both NAHA and the AIA are very much international associations. I know that you belong to AIA, and so a lot of people. So I think I do as well.
I think do all of them.
If you can afford it,
I do all of them.
And you get a discount on their conferences as well. So.
You do, you get a discount on their conferences. You get to find out what other people are doing. It's motivating, it's exciting. And I'm like you, it's like when you see things come across, I get so excited for people and I want to look at this and I want to look at that. And we don't have a lot of time, but at least when you're a member, you have, what's going on in the industry. And I think that that's really important, and it's important for us to support one another as much as we can. And I think it helps with the whole regulation conversation, as you mentioned, your designation and being able to know, is that really my designation? And should I be using that? So they're incredibly important for all those reasons. So we do encourage all of you to do that. So listen, everybody, please take a look at Essence of Thyme. We're going to make sure that you know how to reach out to Colleen and her school. And we're going to see that. So along with this video, as we post it, you're going to see links for her. You're going to see links for her school and wherever else she wants to send you. But please go meet her, take a look at this incredible school. I'm so excited for this program. I know it's been around for a while, and I've seen it and I've always loved the name, but to be able to actually meet you, and I've seen your name so much. So it's so nice to get to know you a little bit. And I look forward to having you back on our show.
Oh, thank you so much, Renee, for inviting me on. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. It's so
Take
much
care.
fun. Thank you. It's very
Okay.
motivating. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.